Did you know that the 1930s, a decade scarred by economic ruin, was also the launchpad for many modern ideas, systems, and movements we rely on today? It may come as a surprise, but during this period of global suffering, the seeds of today's society were planted, from the rise of social safety nets and major political ideologies to the boom of mass entertainment and pivotal innovations in science and technology. Welcome to this deep dive into one of the most dramatic, defining decades in modern history. The 1930s were far more than a time of despair, they were a crucible of transformation. While it's commonly remembered as the age of the Great Depression, the decade was also an incubator for ideas, reactions, and decisions that would shape the world we know today. Let's begin with the shadow that loomed over everything, the Great Depression. Triggered by the Wall Street crash of 1929, the Depression wasn't just an American tragedy, it was a global catastrophe. Banks failed, economies crumbled, and unemployment soared. In the United States, over 15 million people were out of work. In Germany, desperation gave rise to radical ideologies. Across the globe, breadlines stretched for blocks, and uncertainty ruled everyday life. But out of hardship came reform. In the U.S., President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced the New Deal, a sweeping package of government programs aimed at economic recovery and social welfare. It was during this time that Social Security was born, the idea of public works took center stage, and the role of government in personal and economic well-being was redefined. This shift toward a more active state shaped not only America's future, but inspired similar reforms in countries worldwide. Meanwhile, Europe was undergoing its own seismic changes. The Treaty of Versailles had left Germany humiliated and economically strangled. Out of that chaos rose Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, exploiting national resentment and fear to seize power. Similarly, in Italy, Benito Mussolini strengthened his fascist regime. Authoritarianism began spreading like wildfire, with propaganda, censorship, and militarization becoming tools of statecraft. These weren't just political movements, they were transformations of identity and ideology that would soon plunge the world into war. And yet, in the midst of turmoil, people turned to culture, science, and innovation for hope. The 1930s gave birth to enduring icons of entertainment. Swing and jazz filled the airwaves, while the golden age of Hollywood began, offering escapism through legends like Charlie Chaplin, Judy Garland, and Clark Gable. In literature, writers like Steinbeck, Orwell, and Hemingway painted vivid portraits of the times. Works like The Grapes of Wrath captured the raw, painful spirit of the era. On the technological front, the world was evolving rapidly. The first commercial airlines took flight, revolutionizing travel. Radio became the household storyteller, uniting nations through shared broadcasts. And in the scientific world, pioneers like Albert Einstein, Enrico Fermi, and others laid the groundwork for nuclear physics and the looming atomic age. Even the humble refrigerator and washing machine became more widespread, changing daily life forever. But beneath the surface, a much darker current was rising. By the late 1930s, Hitler had dismantled democratic institutions in Germany and initiated aggressive military campaigns. His annexation of Austria and invasion of Czechoslovakia went largely unchallenged by Western powers, emboldening him further. The League of Nations, formed after World War I to ensure peace, proved powerless. The decade's end marked the beginning of something far more devastating, the Second World War. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Within days, Britain and France declared war. The fragile peace that had barely held during the 1930s shattered completely. The political experiments, failures of diplomacy, and unchecked aggression of the past 10 years now erupted into global conflict. And yet, the legacy of the 1930s did not end in flames. From the ashes of depression and war rose modern democracies, international alliances like the UN, and new economic systems designed to prevent another collapse. The lessons learned during the 1930s, about justice, leadership, human rights, and resilience, continue to guide us today. So, as we look back, it's clear, the 1930s were not just a chapter in history, they were a turning point. They were the spark that ignited both destruction and rebirth. A decade that showed us the worst and the best of what humanity can become. What surprised you most about the 1930s? Was it the rise of cinema during hardship? The birth of the social safety net? Or perhaps the realization that the mistakes of that era still echo today? Let us know in the comments. And if you're passionate about learning how the past shapes the present, make sure to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos diving deep into the turning points of history.